If there is one thing I do a lot of, it's praise and spread some positivity that we all know the anime community needs. However, if there's one thing I don't do enough of, it's complain and really bring down the hammer when it comes to certain anime. You have to really go out of the way and shit the bed with an anime to make me dislike it. From one crucial writing decision that changes the trajectory of the story, to a story itself peaking after a certain point, almost anything could lead to the downfall of a series. Now let me kick this off with a simple question. Have you all ever watched an anime that disappointed you so much that you couldn't even believe it? I'm talking the show was dropping nothing but greatness and a steady progression only for it to drive it straight into the trash. The level of rage it brought was absolutely unparalleled to any piece of fiction you have ever experienced before. If you were to ask me this question a couple of years ago, I would have told you no, and man do I wish it was still like that. Over the past couple of years now, there have been some anime that really, and I mean really, disappointed me. Some divisive, others completely agreed upon, and one anime that till this day has me wondering what in the world happened. So today, I'm embracing that disappointment and taking us back to some of the anime that disappointed me, and what better way to start this off than the show that had e-couples making it their entire personality. Yep, Darling in the Franxx is criminal number 1. Let me get this out the way now, but I genuinely did enjoy this anime for a long time. The mystery with the adults and the higher-ups, the curse of Zero Two, the curiosity that began to bloom within the children, and sexual position metaphors aside, enjoyed the mech battles quite a lot too. Even Zero Two got a really solid backstory, giving her more character outside of what the anime community memes did. The episode opening up the Grand Crevice was an absolutely peak point for the series, and it's a peak that unknowingly at the time signaled that the show was going downhill for me. See, I was very on board with the kids taking care of themselves and having to rebuild after the situation went south, and I was even okay with the whole Klaxosaur Queen and aliens lore because they had to come from somewhere, and although this is where people really began to draw the line, I was still able to ride with it. What made me draw the line though was the giant Zero Two and Hero being so lovesick that they basically went to go end the war themselves in space. Did we really have to go to space? I know people found the reincarnation and falling in love in another lifetime trope cute, and that was fine, but I absolutely hated the last chunk of the path that led to this moment. This isn't one of those, well, because the story didn't go the way I wanted, it's bad sort of deals, but I absolutely was just disappointed that that was the route the story did decide to go. A lot of people used to argue that you shouldn't have even taken Darling in the Franxx seriously given the whole cockpit setup, but the show really had something good going for it, and it by far was one of the more disappointing things I watched coming off the ending. But you know what? Darling in the Franxx could have been a whole lot worse because Wonder Egg Priority left me wondering what were they cooking. Now before I get too deep into things, please know that I have nothing against the Wonder Egg staff. At the time of Wonder Egg's airing, there were reports that some people were being hospitalized for how brutal production was, and I still appreciate the team for being able to do what they were able to do with this anime. Yet what became of that special episode to finish off the series is an absolute tragedy. I still cannot piece together the direction they wanted to go for, and it's an absolute shame given how great the premise was. Young girls, each with their own internal struggles, fighting to save the life of somebody who took theirs. Diving into themes of mental health, the forfeit of one's life, and helping those find that peace. There were some tough things to watch in this show, but it was delivering greatly, and I wish the show was able to stick its landing. Having to wait a few months for that special episode only to walk out with 10 times more questions from it compared to the whole series is insane, and yet that's pretty much what happened. Every content creator literally was so flabbergasted they couldn't even begin to try to break down what took place in the finale. It's a shame because again, the team upheld a strong presentation within the anime, all things considered, but the writing completely pieced out. What happened to this series is a level of betrayal I wouldn't wish on any fandom, but what's worse than this is when an author themselves wills it upon their own fandom. Airing during the same season, we also had The Promised Neverland Season 2. Going back to Season 1, this and Demon Slayer had easily won the first half of anime 2019. An absolutely masterclass OP, constant 4D chess every week within a confined area with limited resources, 3 kids who put my IQ to shame, and a finale that sold itself incredibly with the escape plan in full motion. This series had so much potential as we transitioned into one unknown to another, and when Season 2 was announced, I was absolutely ecstatic. Only to come out that the author decided to intervene and change things around so much that people didn't even want to acknowledge the second season. Heck, some of the writers themselves on the show didn't even want to be credited on episodes for how bad it was. I'm not kidding, episode 10 of Season 2 has no credited writers. I ended up seeing all the panels of content cut out, and it by far is the biggest crime in recent anime. What was the author cooking? Like genuinely, they had a 5-star meal, Gordon Ramsay style, set up for the future and decided to go the McDonald's route. Not to actually slander McDonald's because I do like some of the food, but the point is, there is no reason to do the most and ruin such a great show. Prime example of don't let them cook because they had the blueprint and they just needed to continue the streak. Makes it worse when you realize that all of the last few arcs were crammed into that PowerPoint presentation finale showing what the main trio went back to do, and it's incredible incredibly unfortunate. I haven't even gone back to actually read the series yet because that's just how disappointing the whole situation is. With going back and reading in mind, the last choice isn't the worst, but I am quite disappointed in Jigo Karaku. Now before you jump down my throat in the comment section, just please hear me out. Now the thing is, it's not the story or quite frankly majority of the elements I am disappointed in, but it's the anime presentation as a whole. For Jigo to be positively regarded as it was, the anime was painfully average and I blame MAPPA. Between the lack of strong action sequences and weak art, this series was clearly not one met with the resources needed, and why would they when they have JJK Season 2 literally being produced at the same exact time? See, everyone's always saying MAPPA is the GOAT studio because they have been picking up big names and producing some fair amount of results. I mean, look at JJK and Yuri on Ice. The problem, however, is that they pick up too many big names at a time. Why in the world did MAPPA think it was a good idea to pick up JJK, Chainsaw Man, Jigo, and Attack on Titan within a span of 4 years when the average studio barely has 2 projects going on at a time? You are literally asking for something to not go well, and Jigo is definitely the anime that has suffered the most yet. Anybody who was saying that Jigo was gonna change the game or industry has straight up lied out of sheer hype and anticipation simply because there was a MAPPA name behind it. Of course, there were moments when the anime did its thing, but having one nice action moment every other week compared to weekly consistent presentation delivery makes the difference as easy as night and day. Literally, the finale just ended and nobody is really talking about the first core as a whole. I've seen fans so disappointed and I can't even blame them because this is what happens when a studio doesn't slow down. Jigo in his debut couldn't even make more noise like Witch from Mercury in its second half, who was putting up numbers similar to Lycoris Recoil. Heck, even Demon Slayer in its weakest season yet had more weekly consistency, and with people saying that MAPPA was better than Ufotable, there is no excuse. There were already red flags back in the trailer for Jigo, especially with the production, as pointed out by tons of people who are knowledgeable of the industry, but nobody wanted to heed a word till the anime was swept under the radar. With a season 2 already being announced as well, I don't see the anime making a huge comeback anytime soon. JJK and Chainsaw Man are MAPPA's biggest priority from the overall reception to huge amounts of investment, and because of that, Jigo will continue to suffer unless some insane miracle comes around. I will always be on team Jigo should have went to anybody else because adapting so many battle shonen tears down the overall production quality, and it's equally disappointing as much as it's a shame because again, the story is great. Now, if you are somebody that enjoyed the Jigo Karaku anime and found no issues with it, then that's great, but I can assure you this series came and went like the wind and it deserved so much better. To me, it is disappointing, but hey, for as long as the MAPPA hype continues, it's better to just get numb to it. That's pretty much it for me though. As always, thank you for watching and make sure to drop the anime that disappointed you the most in the comment section down below. Stay safe out there and I will catch you all in the next video.